Choosing dahlias is definitely one of my favorite parts of the process. And if you're new to dahlias, let me tell you that there are so many options that you really can't go wrong. Every year I go through the same process. It's not just about buying dahlias for the sake of growing my collection. It's really about how I want to continue to shape and evolve my garden. This year, I ordered a few new dahlias, so I want to walk you through what I chose and, more importantly, why. Hi. Before I start, if you want to know more about all things growing dahlias at home, make sure you subscribe to the channel. So I've been growing dahlias for more than 10 years now. So when I think about adding new ones to the garden, it's more than just adding to my collection, more than just adding to the volume that I have. I'm looking for some specific things. I'm looking for gaps, things that I don't have, maybe colors or forms, or I'm looking to take the forms maybe I already have, take something I already have and find a unique variation of that. For example, orange is one of my favorite colors to have in dahlias, and recently, I think last year, I got a variety called American Sunset, and it's orange, but it is kind of two-tone. There's one color on the top of the petal and one color underneath. So trying to find maybe new and interesting, unique variations on what I already have. Whatever I pick has to still go with my overall kind of gardening vibe. So I'm not going to necessarily get colors that don't go along with the color scheme that I have. Or if I do, I'm going to think about other places maybe to put them in the garden. What other flower beds that I have that maybe I could add some different dahlias to and use those dahlias as an accent in those places. For this coming season, I ordered a handful of new dahlias and I'm going to group them into fitting into kind of three different categories or three different themes. So the first is a white dahlia called Mercury, and I don't have a lot of white in the dahlia bed, and so I was looking for an example of a bright, clean white flower that I could add in amongst all of the various colors that I have going on. And I do have another white already. If I've got a picture, I'll put that on the screen. It's a smaller dahlia. It's a single form. It's a much more compact variety. So I was looking for something a little taller, something to stand out a little bit more. And so I'm going to give that a try. If it doesn't work, well, I can think about some other places for maybe the following year that I could grow it, but I want to see what it looks like in the garden. So I'm going to put it in the main dahlia bed because that has the best conditions for growing my dahlias, and see what it looks like. And based on that, maybe I change my mind. I'll make some notes and see exactly where maybe I want to have it for the following season. And that's one of the nice things about growing dahlias is you don't necessarily need to have a perfect plan in place, and you're also not locked into where you've put them. So if I do end up picking a color and it doesn't quite go with the other things I have going on in that dahlia bed, I can relocate that the next season. I don't do any relocation during the year. Once they're in the ground, I want them to have a chance to get established and to do their thing throughout the whole summer. But since I have to dig them up in the fall, it gives me a chance to plant them out wherever I want to come the following spring. Now, the second category, looking through my dahlias, I realized I don't right now have any large flowering dahlias. I have a bunch of different sizes. So I have small compact dahlias with small single flowers. Probably the majority of my dahlias, the blooms are in that 3 to 5 inch range. And then I do have some slightly larger ones like 4 to 6, but I don't have anything bigger than that. And they can get bigger. They can get up to 8, 10, 12 inches. If everything kind of looks the same in terms of maybe the shape or the relative size, then having something different can really stand out from that. So with that in mind, I picked a couple of flowers. One of them I picked was Mercury. That flower could get up to 12 inches, so I'm really interested in seeing what that looks like in the garden. I also got another flower that is larger, and this one is Uncle B, and it's a purple. It should produce blooms that are about 8 inches across. That should be another big showy piece for the garden. Again, this one is purple, and I have a couple other purple ones, in particular Thomas Edison, which flowered really, really well for me last year. So yeah, I'm hoping that Uncle B will go along with Thomas Edison and a couple of the other purples that I have. So between Mercury and Uncle B, I'm looking for some larger flowers that maybe can anchor the bed, that can be a statement, that can stand out. My third category, and that is choosing colors, but with a twist. I have purples, reds, oranges, yellows. Getting more of the same color is fine, especially if I like them. I don't necessarily want to just keep adding the same orange or the same red over and over again. And now I find myself drawn to varieties that have a bit of a twist. One of the ones that I grew last season was an orange American Sunset. It has two-tone petals. So Uncle B has purple petals that are lined in silver. So that should be a nice contrast to some of the other purples that I have, which are pretty much solid purple. Another one I got that is an example of color with a twist is called Foxy Lady. I was drawn to this one because the petals are pink, but as you move from the petals, from the outside of the petals into the center of the plant, it fades to a white, which transitions into yellow. And I thought that was a really unique look. And I do have some pinks, and I have some whites and some yellows, and I have a number of the kind of open form dahlias that I have. The center is either yellow or sometimes it leans into the orange, but those yellow centered ones, and I want to see how this flower works with maybe some of those combinations. I'm not 100% sure where I'm going to put it. Probably is going to depend a little bit on when I get out to planting the dahlias, where some of the other ones that I already have are going to end up going. The last one on my list is called Cheers, and this one's a dusky kind of pink. So a little bit more muted versus, say, Foxy Lady, and certainly much more different than the hot pink, which I grew this last year. That variety is called Hula, which is really bright neon pink. Cheers is supposed to be more muted, and I got this because it reminded me of a couple other things that I have growing in the bed. In particular, one of the roses that we have. So when I saw this one, this Dahlia Cheers, it immediately reminded me of that, and also a peony that I have that is pink as well. And so whilst the timing of the peony flowering, they'll be done flowering before the dahlias get going. Maybe it'd be cool if one could kind of transition into the other, if I can get the timing right potentially. It is about trying to find the things that are unique, something that is a variation or a twist on maybe something I'm already growing, or trying to fill a gap in my garden with those large blooms, for example. Or maybe for you, if you're looking for plants to help fill out your border, you can think about using dahlias kind of in the front of the beds. Or maybe you need something really tall and that can stand up in the back of your beds with some other flowers that you may have also going. So, dahlias, there's so much variation and so much variety that you can kind of find a new dahlia to fit any situation that you're going to come across. When I'm buying dahlias for the new season, I'm not trying to get to have a certain number of dahlias in my collection. I'm really looking for adding a little bit at a time, kind of year after year, finding something unique, whether it's a color or a form or just something that catches my eye, and I think, hey, I bet I could find a place for that in the garden. And that keeps it interesting. It keeps it fun to try to pick up something new and something unique. And it also makes me think about the dahlias that I already have, because I'm not just flipping through a catalog or a web page and picking out all the pretty ones because, well, that would be all of them. But also, I have to stop and think about, what do I already have? And so I'm thinking about what were some of my favorite blooms? What were some of the surprises? So it kind of makes me think. I gotta flip back through pictures that I took to remember what things looked like. And it's nice when the garden can kind of, even right now when there's nothing out there, because right when I'm filming this, it's still early spring. It's not time to get the dahlias out, and our perennial beds are just about waking up. It's nice that the garden can make us slow down and remember and look back on what we grew last year. So I think it's really fun, and it always keeps my dahlias and the ones that I have and the ones I've been growing for years and years at the front of my mind when I'm thinking about who else do I want to add to to this collection. Choosing dahlias is definitely one of my favorite parts of the process, and it's where I can bring together the kind of new planning for the year with a little bit of a sprinkling of creativity and something new to freshen things up. I encourage you to look at your own dahlias, look at what you're already growing, and try to find maybe something unique. Figure out what it is maybe you might be missing from your dahlia collection. And if you're new to dahlias, let me tell you that there are so many options that you really can't go wrong. Start with a few that stand out to you and develop kind of your style and the vibe and look that you're going for with dahlias, and build on that bit by bit over the seasons. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Maybe I gave you some inspiration about what to add to your garden. And if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the channel. It really does help. And definitely be on the lookout for some videos later in the season so you can see what my new dahlias are looking like. So until next time, happy gardening.